Next, let's throw it to Ryan. He's going to talk about an upcoming event. We have October 16th through the 18th at Central PA Mixed Martial Arts. It's Ryan Gruen School in Central PA. Tell us a little bit about that, Ryan.
Yeah, the 16th through the 18th of October, we're going to do the DBMA Association East Coast Camp. And this will be the first of its kind on the East Coast. Guru Crafty's done camps, if you will, on the West Coast, but this will be the first one we've done here on the East Coast. And as you mentioned, it's going to be at Central PA Mixed Martial Arts, it's pretty convenient. It's centrally located to all of the major cities. So whether you're, near New York City, any DC, Cleveland, you name it, Pittsburgh, Philly, we're within, I think the farthest city, even Toronto, the farthest city is, around 4 hours away. So most big cities will be less than that. So, the plan is the 16th through the 18th. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to do a Friday night session. We'll do Saturday. We'll do 2 sessions. Sunday, we'll do 2 sessions. And it's going to be great because not only is Guru Crafty going to be here, but we also have Guru Splinter Dog who's coming in. He'll be teaching a session Friday night. That's Anton Healy. So he'll be teaching Friday night, and then I'm going to be helping teach with some Kali Tudo as well on Saturday and Sunday. And then, as I mentioned, we got Guru Crafty. So, couldn't ask for any more.
At the moment, Fu and Beowulf are telling me it looks like they'll be able to come, but there's a couple of things that they have to make sure about before they can commit 100%. So, those are Guru Fu, Guru Beowulf, Guru Guard Dog, Guru Splinter Dog are the core people for the association. And I just want to bring out a point. Ryan just spoke a moment ago about there have been previous camps. Those were DBMA camps. They were just simply, this is about the system, whereas this one is about the association. And in addition to the system, it's about the association and how it's about enabling people who are scattered around the world, literally, to, in a systematic way, learn the system. Whereas before it was just kind of more random. Does this subject interest you? Come on by. And the whole business model of most martial arts is, it's a school, and the people go to the school, and they start, they're white belt, they're blue belt, yellow belt, blue belt, the whole thing. Or if it's a school without belts, there's no belts, but they go to a particular physical place. And the nature of what we do is such that it's hard to find enough people in one location, or at least for me. Here I am in Los Angeles, which is a major world center of martial arts. There's all these wonderful jiu-jitsu schools, Muay Thai, Taekwondo. There's just schools all over the place, and for me to find enough people in one place to support a school doesn't make sense. And so, if this is somebody has a training group somewhere and they want to get systematic in the system. Someone has a school somewhere and they want to add us to their curriculum, or they want to have us as the focus of their curriculum. The association camp is going to, we look to respond to their needs and their interests.
If I can add to that too, we talked a little bit about what I've just been loosely calling the 3 points of the DBMA triangle of curriculum. We have the Die Less Often material, we have Kali Tudo, and we have real contact stick fighting. Now, Dog Brothers has always been known for the stick fighting and whatnot. And what we've been able to do with the association is bring a full kind of curriculum to schools. So as Guru Crafty said, whether you're looking to just incorporate a certain aspect of it, or you're looking to, develop an entire system around Dog Brother martial arts, that's what I've been noticing with the extremely strong response we've had already for this camp. People are saying, oh, you know what? I'm really coming for insert whatever art here. We really already have kind of a striking program, but we don't have the reality side of it with Die Less Often, or we don't have the sticks. So that's what really got me pumped up on the whole idea of the Dog Brothers Martial Arts Association is our ability to kind of fill those voids in schools where someone may have a certain aspect of it, but they don't have another aspect. So I find that to be pretty interesting and pretty unique to what we're doing.
Can either one of you please explain to me, I understand there's going to be 6 blocks in this camp. How is that organized and what material is going to be covered?
Well, Friday night, Antone, Guru Splinter Dog, he's going to be teaching the Dos Tragus material. And Tragus is a word that I made up because it sounds Filipino, and it became another way of saying KKK, meaning Kali, Krabi, Krabong. But of course, here in America, KKK has some exceedingly unfortunate connotations. So I said the 3Ks, Los 3Ks, Dos Tragus. And so I made it sound Spanish Filipino. But it really means the blend of Kali and Krabi, Krabong. And the Dos Tragus material is really very central to the system. It's where we develop some of the key themes of the system, one of which is that we learn to hit hard and that we learn to block hard hits, and we learn to move while we're hitting, we learn to move while we're blocking, what we sometimes call the one-for-one relationship. Every time you do something with the stick, you're taking a step. And for a lot of people, this presents ego challenges because they're used to blazing their stick while not moving their feet so much. But the speed of the fight is the speed of the stick. And so the other person only has to do is move, and all those wondrous stick skills then aren't hitting him. And we learn to move in a way that we're moving on triangles in this one-for-one relationship with our blocks and our hits. And this then becomes something that applies in all areas of the system. A lot of people say, yes, Filipino martial arts, we use triangles, and then you ask them to show me some. And there tends to be, this kind of a, brain fart kind of a moment. They don't really have an answer. They don't really understand. They may have practiced the triangles, but they don't understand how to use them. And this material gives a sense of where they are and how you would actually use them in a fight. And this is one of the key things in Dog Brother martial arts is we believe in primal probabilities first. The first thing we want people to be able to deal with is what probably will come at them. And what will probably come at them in a real fight is caveman strikes, backhand diagonals, downward figure eights, horizontal strikes. Overwhelmingly, this is what you will see to begin. And if you can't deal with that, you could have an athletic guy, an aggressive athletic guy who's swinging hard. And if you can't deal with that, you don't get to the higher levels. You're not ready for the higher levels. You have to be able to deal with power, aggressive, powerful intent. And the Dos Tragus material gives you that. And it's almost mathematical in how it goes about things. And, does he have 2 sticks on his right? Does he have 2 sticks on his left? Does he have 1 on each side? And that's going to cover well over 90% of what most people are doing most of the time when they're fighting. And if you have this material, you have this analytical framework that no matter where you are in the fight, you are going to see wondrous opportunities, whereas before you might have been confused or even intimidated by somebody's power and athleticism. Now it's, oh, good. I see he's going to be throwing this big, powerful shot on this line. I have exactly what to do. I've prepared myself to handle this power. I get to hit him now. This is ruthlessly efficient and real-time material. It's very much, if you see it taught, you see it fought. And Guru Splinter Dog excels in this. He has taken this material, he's made it his own. When he goes out there and fights people, he just systematically takes them apart. And what the opponent says to me after the fight, he says, no matter what I did, he was just taking me apart. And so Guru Antone is going to be showing okay, here's the material, and here it is, and here's some footage of me fighting with it, and you can see it very directly applied. It's Dog Brother martial arts. If you see it taught, you see it fought. And so that's really a good place to be starting the camp, is with that, so that people get to see that. And with that foundation, they will then see how it manifests in the other aspects of the system. And for a number of the people coming to the camp are instructors with schools. And so this also for them is a good way for them to see, like, okay, I see how that material works. I see that I can learn that. It's actually not that complicated, though some people stumble a little bit at first just because it goes very deep to certain coordination things. But ultimately, in essence, it's really quite simple, the highest level being simplicity. And so the instructor can see, this is how I get started with the program. And, for someone who's looking to, they may have advanced skills, but they've been frustrated in their ability to apply them. Here's my missing link. Somebody else could be relatively a beginner and they can say, I see how this works. I can learn this. I can do this. And I see how it really works. And that's going to be very motivational for people as they go about their training, whatever their purpose may be. And so in the three areas of the system, we start with the weaponry. We start with the real contact stick fighting. And the other two areas are the Kali Tudo, which is the system I developed. It's a bad pun based on the Brazilian Vale Tudo, which was the way the UFC began. There's more rules in MMA now. Back with Vale Tudo, headbutts are allowed, stomps, kicks on a down man, knees on a down man. Headbutts are allowed, groin strikes are allowed. So the rules of Vale Tudo are far more limited than they've come to be today. And so I took Vale Tudo and Kali and I blended it together to make a bad pun, Kali Tudo. And Kali Tudo is where we look to adrenalize the movements of Kali in the laboratory of the mixed martial art cage. This is then to prepare us for die less often, the interface of gun, knife, and empty hand. In many street situations, you are not going to have time to diagnose whether that movement has a weapon in it or not. Is there a knife? Is there a club? You may not have time to discern in a real world situation. And so therefore, you're not going to have time to download, this is an empty hand attack. I download my empty hand system. He's got a club. This is my anti-weapon system. We just simply have one idiom of movement, whether it is weaponry fighting, the empty hand, the Kali Tudo, or we're in die less often. So this means that our adrenal response time is going to be as fast as can be. Bruce Lee spoke of the choice reaction principle. The more choices you have to make, the slower your reaction. So if we only have one idiom of movement, we are training ourselves to react as quickly and appropriately as possible. And so during the camp, we're going to have different sessions are going to be about different aspects of the system, but also designed to give those there a sense of the overvision of the system.
If I could add to that, Guru, breaking down the Kali Tudo concept even further, it's not only consistent across die less often and stick fighting and whatnot. If you break down the empty hand arts, it's consistent amongst all of those as well. So that was one of the things that really drew me to Kali Tudo was, I can show this to my boxers, but I could also show it to my kickboxers, but I could also show it to the MMA fighters. So that's a pretty neat aspect. And interestingly, most of the material that you've shown me has been kind of surrounded by the idea of using it in MMA. And ironically, some of the best success I've had with it has been in boxing. So, just having all of that consistent across all the arts, I think is a pretty good point as well. That it's not even just for mixed martial arts; it's for all of the striking arts.
And it's with your extensive experience training many people, you have about 400 student school, and you have a serious boxing program, serious kickboxing program, serious MMA program. People you've trained have gone on to great success in these areas. And so I really like the work that you've been doing developing the focus mitt drills to bring out the distinctive way of the Kali Tudo has of hitting. And, for those not familiar with it, the motion, I started the Kali Tudo when I was training at the Raw Gym in El Segundo, which was Rico Chiapparelli and Vladimir Matushenko and Frank Trigg. And there were people there like a young Lyoto Machida, Waleed Ismail. Some of the, the biggest names of the time were coming through that gym. It was a very serious place. And, first time you get out on the mat, in sparring session and you start waving your arms around like sticks, people were looking at me, like I didn't know they still made people, idiots they still made idiots like this. But, and they were nice with me. I was in my early 50s and, so obviously out of sheer physicality, no matter what I did, they could have stomped me. But, where they matched my level of physicality and we, experimented with lively play, I had moments of success. And so for someone who's used to only hitting what in Kali terms would be four-handed thrusts, that's to say the boxing strikes, the jab, the cross, the hook, the overhand, the uppercut, they're either straight or curved, but they're all four-handed thrusts. And so we're hitting with the slashing motions as well as the thrusting motions on both forehand and backhand. So if someone doesn't have a sense of how to, for example, use the focus mitts, which are a wonderful training tool, and they don't know how to bring that out, there's going to be something missing in the training. And I very much like the work that you've been doing so that people can actually get a feel of hitting with it and putting it together and so forth. And so, that's, I think, one of the things that we'll be covering at the camp in the Kali Tudo is, you showed like, okay, here's some focus mitt things so that people can get started with that so that they learn to hit in this way empty-handed.
Absolutely.
And that way of doing things, one of the things I want to point out is that the sort of the final test of the system, in a sense, is the die less often material. And when you're fighting in the street, your hands aren't wrapped. If you punch somebody in the mouth, you might get cut, and whatever bacteria or viruses are floating around in his saliva become a real serious health issue. You punch them in the nose, all that, so there's, for example, if you really understand how to slap, and if you swing a stick well, you naturally have a good slap. You can hit somebody anywhere on their skull fearlessly. You're going to be hitting at angles they're not familiar with, and with body mechanics that are far less telegraphic. And you can be staying away from the mouth and the nose and the areas where there's the body fluid. You're not putting the metacarpals, the little bones of your hands, at risk by punching the skull. You can just fearlessly slap that skull. And let me tell you, when you hit somebody like that, I'd actually rather hit with the slap than I would with a fist in many cases. And so the work that you've been doing with the focus mitts, they're learning to integrate the slaps. Most people, because the way they test themselves in sparring is in a boxing, kickboxing, MMA context, and that's only about the fist, the way most people do it. And so these drills they get used to using the forearms in a way that we use the forearms. They get used to using all these other angles, the hammer fist, the back fist. There are ways of doing it. And so I'm very excited by the work that you're doing with the focus mitts.
Great, thank you.
Let me jump in for 1 second. I'm not as well versed in this as obviously as either one of you, but what I'm hearing and what I really like, I did not realize, and I've been around you for a long time, and I have not heard the progression laid out that way before. Going through the real contact stick fighting, through to the Kali Tudo, through to the DLO, that's a real nice progression. And what I'm hearing and what is nice here is that you really are filling in a lot of gaps, because a lot of us train in a lot of things and we go very deep in several areas, but they really aren't covering these areas that you're covering, which means this can fit in really well with a lot of things that a lot of people are already doing. You're not trying to overwrite what they're doing. It fits in really well.
That's very well said. That's a perceptive summary there. I think that's exactly right. For example, even in the name Kali Tudo, by using the word Tudo, I'm saying I acknowledge and respect what I see in MMA. I've moved with these guys. I've in a friendly fashion, sparred with these guys. I know just how good they are. And the sheer. I remember one time I was trying to get a wrist. I had two hands on Vladimir Matoshenko's hand and wrist, and I was trying to get a wrist lock, and he didn't even notice that I was trying. I mean, the level of athleticism and physicality of these guys is extraordinary, and the ruthless efficiency of the cage for filtering out BS and what works is very high. And so I'm a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Higa Machado, 2 times Pan American blue belt gold medalist. Now that was the old fart division, but nevertheless I showed up, and so I acknowledge and respect all of that. But one of my concerns with MMA as a paradigm is that what you do in the adrenal state, what you have tested in the adrenal state is what you will use in the adrenal state. And the example I often use of making this point is when we were shooting the Die Less Often DVD. It was over at Higa Machado's school in Redondo Beach, and one of his black belts was watching the the anti-knife force-on-force training. And he came up to me, and he's wearing this T-shirt that said "Tap or Nap," quintessential Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu attitude. And he said to me, "Well, can't you just use a double leg takedown?" And so I got his liability waiver and the right to use the footage, and we sent him out there to say, let's find out. And so he went out there, and he executed a beautiful double leg takedown, and he got stabbed 8 times in the neck. You will do in the adrenal state what you have tested in the adrenal state. So what we're looking to do is that go in the Kali Tudo is to avoid things that are going to be unsound for the street and emphasize things which are going to be relevant for the street. And indeed, one of the at the U.S. Open gatherings, we now allow people to hide knives on their person so that when a fight goes to the clinch, that they have to keep track of the opponent's hands and whether he might be accessing a weapon. If even in your ritual fights, that you have this mindset when you then are in a street situation, your awareness is just simply going to include keeping track of the hands and knowing that if those hands disappear, when they reappear, that you may not like what's in them. And this way of going about things is relevant to the practitioner. Yes, certainly we have lots of young fighters, but the mission statement for the system is walk as a warrior for all your days. And so we are very much looking to help people who in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s be able to walk as warriors for all their days. And that's really what got me started in the Filipino martial arts. Most people in martial arts are about young male ritual hierarchical combat. We agree upon the rules. We combat some form or other of my penis is bigger than your penis, and who's number one, who's number two, etc. Whereas my starting point was like, I remember those 3 guys who jumped me on the stairs at school and took my wallet, or I remember those 3 junkies coming after me on the subway platform at 3 a.m. in the far reaches of the Bronx, or I remember those 3 guys who jumped my buddy and me and stole my buddy's bicycle. And how dinged up we were. So I was not looking at it in terms of mating rituals at the watering hole, commonly known as the bar. My motive, my strike, and the thing that the final episode that really made me realize that I wanted to train was a story that I think was covered in one of my interviews, where I wound up with spending 3 days in a prison in southern Mexico after a friend of mine and I had a fight with 4 guys who were trying to drag off one of the girls who was with us. So that's a different mindset. And so in the Kali Tudo, the empty hand, the way that we use stick and knife, there's movements that we then use in the empty hand, which then become the draw stroke for accessing, for example, someone who carries a gun. If you don't train, if guns are not part of your, way of doing things, that's fine. We don't look to impose that. But if they are, the same movements that you're using in the Kali Tudo and adrenalizing there, If you have some situation that's starting at 0 to 3 feet, as many situations do, or even 0 to 6 feet, you're going to have the empty hand skills necessary that you can bring your weapon into play. It's not a gunfight at that. It's Gabe Suarez, who I spent some time with, and we worked together for a few years, many years ago. One of the things he said, it's not a fight, it's not a gunfight, it's a fight. And it's so that as I have been developing the system, and the vision is that to help people throughout their lives, that they have functional, practical things that they can do. So we say fun, fit, functional. The training should be fun to do. We're not sometimes people think if they come to a seminar, I'm going to be hitting them with sticks. No, we're there to have a good time. We're there to learn. The system should promote health. It should promote fitness. And it should be, and should it ever be necessary, it should work. So that we have the 3 F's: fun, fit, functional. And by going about things this way, I think we're able to be unusually responsive to the needs and the desires of people who come to us.
I also like another aspect of this is if you are not necessarily doing these like you just explained, you don't have to go in there and get banged up, but just being aware of these things can take you maybe to a higher level of awareness, to where if you're not someone that is ready to bang around and do that kind of stuff, just being a little bit more aware of what you're looking at can help you avoid those kind of things. Get your head out of your butt. What's going on a little better just by being aware that it even exists. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people walking around that they're not even thinking that way. That's how you become a victim. So this is nice.
That's certainly part of the DLO training. And just by being around this kind of thing, what problems might a 50-year-old husband and father face? Something like, okay, walking out of the restaurant, the parking lot, and there's this semi-psychotic homeless person. He's kind of big, he's kind of threatening, and just having the sense of that, you can handle yourself. That you're fit. What it is to hit and move, to block and move, and so forth. There's just going to be an aura to you that on an animal level, but very often you're just going to be able to avoid the situation because he decides not you. And, should it go further than that, well, you know what to do and how to handle yourself. And you've been training in a way that you understand what the issues are. And okay, here it is, it's time to go. But, obviously, best to not have that happen. But, certainly as part of the Die Less Often training, we have what my friend Southnark calls threat management, or managing unknown contacts. Somebody's approaching, you don't know who he is. If your training is just like, here's how you punch, here's how you kick, here's how you knee, here's how you elbow, that's incomplete. That you want to understand how to manage this. What are the cues of criminal assault? We use what we call the Southnark 4. I think that he's got a wonderful summary of the things that commonly people do without realizing it before launching an attack. So if you start seeing some of this, it helps you get over the natural reluctance of a good person to get, to fight. And it's like, okay, this guy is ramping up to attack. And, it just becomes easier to give yourself permission to bring to bear what you can do. A lot of times someone will have the skills, but just because they're missing that particular link in their chain, they get overwhelmed on the initial moment of contact, and they never get in the fight. All right, so to wrap things up, I'm going to turn it over to our business director, a man of many talents in addition to his teachings, Guru Ryan, is going to talk about getting to the camp.
Yeah, as I mentioned, 16th to 18th of October. That's Friday through Sunday. I recommend if you're flying into State College Airport, the abbreviation's SCE. But if you're driving, it couldn't be easier. We're smack dab in the middle of the state. Central PA Mixed Martial Arts is in the middle of Center County. So you pretty much know where to find us. And for those of you that need all the details still, perhaps Bob, you can link all of the links and whatnot in the description, just so they have everything for registration and whatnot. And then outside that, if you need any help, if you need any questions answered, you can always email me at ryan@dogbrothers.com. Message me on Facebook. I'm always available. And I try to get back to everybody within 24 hours. So, yeah, I'm excited. Anything else you want to add to that, Guru?
I'm excited. I know we already have a lot of people signed up. War Dog is going to be coming up from Virginia. I trained him extensively out when he was working out here. He's law enforcement in Virginia now. He's going to be bringing up a crew of people. And, you've been telling me about some of the other people who signed up. I'm very excited. We're going to have a broad spectrum. I want to emphasize that people who feel, oh, I'm just a beginner, I'm not worthy of being around these people, blah, blah, all that. No, we know how to have different experience levels work together. One of the things we use is a training method we call the metronome. Basically, everybody's at the same speed, the same volume, and that allows people to work together very enjoyably. And so we take pride in getting less experienced people, help them get traction in short order. So no matter your level, we think you're going to have a good time.
Thank you, gentlemen. This has been a blast as one of the first ones that we're ever doing. We look for this to continue for a very long time. Please, if you get a chance to attend this, do so. You will not regret it. And we will see everybody for the next one.
Sounds good.
The adventure continues.